The Galactic Assembly had declared humanity the greatest existential threat ever discovered. Not because humans had conquered the stars, but because of what they might one day become. Ancient alien prophets, quantum oracles, and civilizations millions of years old all reached the same terrifying conclusion: if humanity survived long enough, no empire, no godlike species, and no force in the universe would ever be able to control them. Before humans had even left their own solar system, the Assembly launched the largest extermination campaign in galactic history. Earth burned beneath orbital bombardments, the moon shattered into glowing rings, Mars became molten glass, and every human colony was hunted without mercy. After decades of relentless war, the Assembly declared humanity officially extinct. Monuments were raised celebrating that final victory. History books erased every mention of Earth. Speaking the word human became forbidden. For 10,000 years, the galaxy prospered beneath the illusion that its greatest fear had been eliminated forever. Empires rose and fell. Stars died. Entire civilizations evolved and vanished into dust. Yet beyond the edge of known space, where no hyperspace lane reached and where even light seemed reluctant to travel, something survived. Hidden inside a collapsing dwarf galaxy lay Project Exodus, humanity's final sanctuary. The last fleet, carrying barely 2 million survivors, had escaped through an experimental singularity gate moments before Earth's destruction. The gate collapsed behind them forever, cutting them off from the known universe. They mourned their lost home, but instead of seeking revenge immediately, they made a different promise: never again would humanity be vulnerable. Generation after generation dedicated themselves to science, exploration, engineering, philosophy, and unity. Wars between humans ended forever because they understood what division had cost them. Artificial intelligences became trusted partners rather than servants. Quantum biology doubled human lifespans. Dyson swarms harvested entire stars. Black holes became power plants. They learned to fold spacetime without hyperspace, creating drives that ignored the limitations every alien civilization believed were absolute laws of physics. Their cities floated inside artificial stars, their fleets were grown from living metal, and their soldiers wore armor that manipulated probability itself. Humanity did not merely advance, they evolved into something the old galaxy could never have imagined. 10,000 years later, an automated exploration vessel crossed into the forgotten Milky Way, expecting only ruins. Instead it found chaos. The Galactic Assembly no longer existed. Countless successor empires fought endless wars. Entire sectors had fallen to cosmic horrors emerging from interdimensional fractures. Ancient machines, once imprisoned by civilizations older than memory, had awakened and were consuming stars. The galaxy that had once feared humanity now stood on the edge of extinction. The human explorers silently observed for months before sending a single transmission across every frequency in existence. It contained only 8 words: humanity acknowledges your continued existence. Explain yourselves. Panic erupted across thousands of worlds. Impossible records resurfaced from forbidden archives. Historians dismissed as lunatics were suddenly proven right. The extinct species had returned. Worse still, their signal had originated from outside every known galactic map. Desperate diplomats attempted contact, but before negotiations could begin, the devourers arrived. Massive biomechanical entities larger than planets emerged from dimensional tiers, stripping stars apart to feed on their energy. Entire fleets disappeared within minutes. Weapons that had protected the galaxy for millennia barely scratched the monsters. The combined navies of every surviving empire collapsed in a single day. As billions prepared for annihilation, space itself rippled. Thousands of elegant silver vessels emerged without hyperspace portals, without wormholes, simply appearing as though reality had decided they belonged there all along. They carried no visible weapons, no aggressive formations, only a quiet confidence that unsettled everyone watching. The lead vessel transmitted another brief message. Stand down. This threat is now classified as a human containment operation. Alien admirals protested, warning that even ancient superweapons had failed. The human flagship responded by firing exactly once. There was no beam, no missile, no explosion. Instead, the nearest devourer simply stopped existing. Its atoms had not been destroyed, they had been convinced they had never formed. The remaining monsters turned toward the newcomers in fury, unleashing gravitational storms capable of crushing solar systems. Human ships ignored them. Space around each vessel bent like flowing water, redirecting impossible energies harmlessly into higher dimensions. Within 23 minutes, every devourer across the galaxy had vanished. Entire civilizations watched in stunned silence. Humanity had defeated an enemy that had terrorized the stars for millions of years with less effort than earlier empires spent policing pirate fleets. The surviving governments immediately requested an emergency summit. Representatives from thousands of species gathered inside the rebuilt citadel, expecting conquerors demanding submission. Instead, the human delegation entered without guards, wearing simple uniforms bearing only a blue planet surrounded by stars. Their leader, High Chancellor Elena Ward, calmly examined the assembly chamber where humanity had once been sentenced to extinction. She smiled, not with hatred, but with sadness. 10,000 years ago, she began, your ancestors feared what humanity might become. They were correct. They simply misunderstood why. Ancient recordings of Earth's destruction appeared above the chamber. Every delegate watched cities burn, children flee collapsing shelters, oceans boil beneath orbital fire, and desperate civilian ships shot from the sky. Silence filled the hall. Elena continued, you believed extermination would guarantee your safety. Instead, it guaranteed our transformation. Everything we became was forged by the memory of what you did. Several governments immediately offered unconditional surrender. Others begged forgiveness. Some expected instant execution. Instead, Elena dismissed every request with a wave of her hand. We did not return for revenge. Revenge belongs to people trapped in the past. Humanity survived because we chose the future. Confused whispers spread across the chamber. If not conquest, why return? Elena activated another hologram. Beyond the visible universe, billions of crimson lights slowly approached every known galaxy. The Devourers were only scouts, she explained. The true enemy has awakened. In approximately 18 standard years, they will arrive. Against them, your combined civilizations have a statistical survival chance of 0%. Fear swept through every delegation. Then Elena smiled again. Fortunately, humanity has been preparing for this war for 10,000 years. The chamber erupted into disbelief as enormous gateways opened across the sky outside the citadel. Through them came not hundreds or thousands, but millions of human vessels stretching farther than the eye could see. Mobile Dyson spheres, artificial planets converted into command stations, living star forges, and fleets larger than entire galaxies emerged in disciplined silence. Alien sensors failed trying to count them. Some officers simply stared in shock as the numbers overflowed their displays. Humanity had not returned with an army. Humanity had returned with a civilization engineered for the sole purpose of protecting existence itself. Across the galaxy, forgotten worlds once scarred by war watched human engineers restore dead suns, terraform poisoned planets, and rebuild ancient infrastructure without demanding tribute or allegiance. Children of species that had once celebrated humanity's extinction now played beneath skies illuminated by human technology. Slowly, suspicion turned into respect. Respect became trust. Trust became alliance. 18 years later, the Crimson Convergence arrived. Countless reality-consuming entities poured from the darkness between galaxies, each capable of erasing civilizations with a thought. They expected frightened prey. Instead, they found humanity waiting. The first battle lasted 43 seconds. The second lasted 12. By the time the final enemy commander understood what had happened, human fleets had already surrounded every invasion corridor, sealing the dimensional breach forever. The war that ancient civilizations believed would end creation itself became a brief chapter in human military history. When victory celebrations spread across the stars, reporters asked Chancellor Elena whether humanity had finally proven itself the strongest species in existence. She looked toward the distant blue star that marked the long-dead birthplace of humanity and quietly answered, strength was never our goal. Survival was. Everything else was simply the price of making sure no child, human The years that followed transformed the galaxy more profoundly than any war ever had. Human fleets did not remain as occupying forces. Instead, they became architects of peace, stationing themselves only where invited and dismantling ancient weapons capable of annihilating entire star clusters. Across millions of worlds, forgotten trade routes reopened, dead civilizations were rediscovered beneath oceans of sand and ice, and stars once believed beyond saving were reignited through technologies that seemed almost miraculous. Yet humanity refused every request to become emperors of the galaxy. Whenever a government offered them a throne, Chancellor Elena Ward answered with the same words, "We survived tyranny once. We will never become it." Those words spread farther than any fleet, becoming the foundation of a new galactic accord where no species, regardless of strength, age, or technology, could rule another by force. Not everyone welcomed this new era. Hidden in the void beyond the old Assembly's archives, a secret organization known as the Eternal Directorate had survived for 10,000 years. Descendants of the very leaders who had ordered Earth's destruction, they had preserved forbidden technologies and rewritten history to portray humanity as monsters. Their hatred had become religion. To them, humanity's return was not a miracle, it was the greatest failure in galactic history. While the rest of the galaxy celebrated peace, the Directorate searched for the only weapon ever designed specifically to kill humans, the Genesis Lock, an ancient device built before recorded history by a civilization even older than the Assembly. According to legend, it could erase an entire species not only from the present but from every timeline in existence. Deep beneath a dead neutron star, the Directorate finally found it. When they activated the Genesis Lock, every human in the galaxy felt it at once. Children stopped playing. Scientists froze in the middle of experiments. Soldiers looked toward the stars with an instinct they could not explain. Somewhere beyond reality, something had awakened, and it knew humanity's true name. Across the human commonwealth, every emergency beacon ignited simultaneously for the first time since Project Exodus had begun 10,000 years earlier. The alert carried a single message: Existential Protocol Alpha. Probability shield failure, imminent. Within minutes, humanity's oldest intelligence, an ancient artificial mind known only as Atlas, requested an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. Atlas had been created on Earth before its destruction and had witnessed every chapter of human history. When the delegates entered the chamber, the AI projected a map unlike anything they had ever seen. Instead of stars, it displayed countless branching timelines, most of them ending abruptly in darkness. The Genesis Lock, Atlas said, does not destroy civilizations. It destroys the possibility that they ever existed. Silence consumed the council. If activated completely, Atlas continued, Earth will never have formed. Humanity will never have evolved. Every alliance we created, every world we saved, every child born because of our return, will disappear. Even your memories of us will vanish. For the first time since humanity's return, fear appeared on Chancellor Elena Ward's face. The Directorate believed they had finally cornered humanity. They transmitted a message to every inhabited world. 10,000 years ago we failed to erase them. Today, history itself will finish our work. But they had forgotten the lesson their ancestors never learned. Humans had spent 10,000 years preparing not only for enemies that attacked worlds, but for enemies that attacked reality itself. Far beyond the edge of the observable universe, hidden inside a structure larger than a galaxy, rested the greatest secret Project Exodus had ever created, the Archive of Earth. It was not a library. It was a complete quantum record of humanity's existence, preserved outside space, outside time, and beyond the reach of causality itself. Every human life, every language, every memory, every heartbeat from prehistoric Earth to the modern Commonwealth had been encoded into the fabric of a protected dimension. When the Genesis Lock fired, reality shuddered. Stars flickered. Entire constellations disappeared. Across the galaxy, billions suddenly forgot humanity had ever existed. Then, just as quickly, they remembered. The archive had resisted. History bent, but it did not break. For a single terrifying minute, the universe fought itself. When the distortion ended, Atlas quietly announced, the enemy has learned that humanity cannot be erased. Chancellor Elena looked toward the projection of old Earth, the blue world that had been destroyed 10,000 years before, and whispered, "Then they'll try something worse." She was right. Moments later, long-range observatories detected impossible movement beyond the cosmic horizon. Something enormous had changed direction. Not an invasion fleet. Not another ancient civilization. The universe itself had answered the Genesis lock. And it was coming for the species that had become impossible to erase.